Welcome everybody to Rad Pod and Chill. My name is Heidi Kuda, and I'm with my friends Jim Stewartson and High Fidelity. You guys know that we are an investigative show about disinformation, but not on Thursday nights. On Thursday nights, we're at the virtual bar talking smack and recapping news. We do get down in that direction, but we also like to have a good time on Thursday nights, and but we also do like to save democracy. So before we get around to the business of trying to save democracy, I just want to make sure that I answer our friends. Last week, I was wearing Sally Hansen Vegan Pure Grapevine, 2 words, because I got a lot of questions about this. This week, this dreamy ass color. I know you guys love this so much. Really just
how many fucking words do you need for a color? Say it one more time.
Well, this is actually grapevine, and it's divine. Can I tell you, this is the very first time that I knowingly and wittingly wore the same color 2 episodes in a row, because usually I always like to change, but it's so freaking gorgeous. It's like a deep eggplant. But this will really excite you guys, I'm sure. This is Turn on the Northern Lights, and this is OPI, and I'm wearing it for the first time.
Sure, that's a weed. That's weed, isn't it?
Yeah, that sounds like a straight of weed, man.
The reason I love this, though, is because it's this deep, dark, intergalactic navy blue with these gold flecks in it. So I'm very, very excited. So that is my breaking news on nail polish. And now let's get on to Tim Snyder's Substack from today. Can we discuss that? Have you guys read it? If you haven't, I encourage everybody to do so. He put so much thought into it. It's part 2 on the ramifications from the McGonagall indictments. But he put a lot of effort and thought and time into parsing the New York Times infamous headline and story, which we talked about with Craig Unger. For those who are just tuning in for the first time, we have a show and a guest every week. Our week episode 58 was Craig Unger, who was fantastic. And guess who is cited repeatedly in Tim Snyder's Spy Scandal Part 2? Craig Unger. I was actually so excited. I was hoping some of the links would link to our show, but instead it linked to Craig's New Republic article and his book, American Compromat, which I thought was very fantastic. But he put a lot of thought into the various things that could have been going through the powers that be, New York Times powers that be in 2016, that they would have just gone with the headlines, Comey says there's no Russian interference, and Snyder was very, very generous. And for those who don't know, he is a Yale professor who wrote On Tyranny in April 2016. He did his first report on Russia and Trump and Ukraine, and he's very, very passionate. So I'll shut up for a moment and let you guys chime in, but I think it's important everybody reads that.
We should have him on the
show. I have been asking questions of James Comey.
Yes, you have.
Loud. I asked him, whether he has an update on feeling mildly nauseous about costing Hillary Clinton the fucking election.
And in case people don't know, he actually said that. Like, Jim, tell him exactly. Yes.
He said about, fraudulently reopening her email case 11 days before the election, that it made me feel mildly nauseous, that I might affect the election, but I would have done it all over again. Right?
Yeah, right.
So, first of all, Charles McGonagall is the guy who fed him the bullshit stories that he used as an excuse to reopen that case.
I don't
Charles
know if we know.
McGonagall,
Do we know that as a fact, or is that
yes,
presumably
the New York
allegedly?
FBI is the so Giuliani, Eric Prince, Mike Flynn were all on TV. They were all on television with members, ex-members of the FBI. I can't recall if there were on those box, but they were talking about the New York FBI. They said that there was going to be a surprise coming. All of these things from the New York FBI, right?
Yeah.
They said that. And McGonagall was in charge of counterintelligence, was special agent in charge of counterintelligence at the New York FBI while that was going on. Charles McGonagall was just indicted, in case you missed it, for being a goddamn Russian spy. Well,
and please,
indicted for doing business with sanctioned oligarch Oleg Deripaska, who is known from all kinds of things, including Paul Manafort and trying to take over Ukraine and all kinds of shit.
Right, and for those who
Hold on.
have not had a chance to catch up,
I just wanted to finish my thought. Comey, Comey either is the most incompetent, unbelievably worthless manager ever to exist on planet Earth, or he knew a hell of a lot more than mildly nauseous.
I don't know.
At best.
I don't know.
Right? So I asked him the question, and 400,000 people have seen that question.
Yeah.
And so, to me, and I'm just going to finish with this, Heidi, and then I'll shut up. The theft of the 2016 election, until we collectively, as a nation, come to grips with this original sin, with the worst political crime in American history that handed the presidency of the country from the most qualified person to a Kremlin puppet, until we figure out that everything that came after that, the Supreme Court and justices and the fucking judiciary that's full of absolute chaos agents across the board, we've got to come to grips with the fact that all that shit's corrupt, and we're going to have to deal with it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's going to be easy, but we have got to collectively understand it and fucking suit up and do something.
Yes, we do.
Number one.
No,
okay,
thank you, Jim.
Look, all that has to be said to the people in the FBI is, are you incompetent or are you complicit? That's all it boils down to.
Yep. That's it. One or the other, bro. You either suck so bad at your job that a Russian fucking sting operation is going on under your nose, or you knew it was going on, or you suspected it. So my theory is, and then I'll shut up, is that Comey is a narcissist. Sorry, he is. And he managed to compartmentalize what he knew what was going on over there enough to give himself plausible deniability for being complicit in the goddamn theft of the 2016 election. And I think he needs to step up and say what he knows.
So I do want to, that's why I'm all about truth and reconciliation. I'm going to preach it from the, highest mountain, because we need truth and reconciliation now. Hi-Fi. Timothy Snyder has a third option. And the third option is that intelligence, like law enforcement's, likes their sort of law and order strongman type, and might have actually liked Trump. So,
we know that there was, evidence from inside the FBI that a lot of FBI agents supported Trump, and a lot of them supported the January 6th insurrectionists, right?
Well, so let's go back to, so what we do on Radpod and Chill, friends, is we do a recap, allegedly, of our previous episode that dropped on Monday.
Nobody ever does it.
And we always forget, but
I have a clip. We can play a clip.
But I want to say that Craig Unger, who has been reporting on this using FBI sources, no less, for many, many years, he's a good friend of the show. His books are very important: American Compromat and House of Trump, House of Putin. He said the FBI failed miserably. His words. I not only refer you to our show, which I would recommend everybody watch the previous episode, but I would also like to refer everybody again to see why Tim Snyder actually cites Craig Unger, which I thought was very important and cool, because he is important. But we do have a clip. Yes, Jim.
Just when he came in on the show before the show, I don't think you were there, but I said, bro, how does it feel to be right about absolutely everything?
Yeah.
I saw that. I
mean,
saw that.
Dude was saying this stuff in like before the 2016, all of it.
Yeah.
Like FBI, what's going on over there, and and
Yeah.
Trump has been a Russian mafia lieutenant for his entire fucking life.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
So I also honestly, because this is how I'm making my living right now, typing away, I also want to refer our viewers to Jim's Substack at Jim Stewartson, correct? And mine at Heidi Kuda, because everything that we're talking about, we have been reporting on mightily and heartily. And I'm sure that Jim, yours is probably going gangbusters, but I've now got members like in, I don't know, 45 states and 35 different countries. And I feel like the work that we're doing is of value. You know how I said I really wanted to go back a decade prior to the election? I wanted to go back in time and see what the systems that were being set up, what the operations looked like, what was being in place, what we already knew. So last night I was up all night investigating the assassination of the opposition leader of Russia, Boris Nemtsov. And I bring him up because he reminded me that when Putin faked the elections in 2011 and Russia erupted in protests like they hadn't seen in years, that Hillary Clinton stood up and said, we need to launch a massive investigation of what happened there. And then what did Putin do? He got up and said that Hillary Clinton is responsible for the protests in Russia. And I bring this up because shortly after the interviews that I was watching, where I was listening to Boris Nemtsov, we're going to talk a little bit more about him. Shortly after the interviews were taking place, he was assassinated in front of the Kremlin with 4 bullets to the back. What happened to Hillary Clinton? She was virtually assassinated by the same freaking operatives, by the same people. And I want those people held to account. And he also predicted that things would end badly for Vladimir Putin. And I would like things to end badly for Vladimir Putin. The pain that's been inflicted on our country, the pain that's currently being inflicted in Ukraine, and the operations that he's run on his own people. It's time. I don't care how much fucking petro he has. They can shove it up his ass. I'm so sorry. Let's cut that in post.
That's the angriest I think I've ever seen Heidi.
That's because
Heidi. Yay.
It's because, no, I got to tell you, it's because I love
Yay for anger. More anger, Heidi.
I love this man. He could have led Russia in a completely different direction. And there was a crossroads where that could have happened. And Yeltsin and the powers that be chose Putin because he was the kind of guy that would hide their corruption. He was the kind of guy that would pardon them for their corruption, and the kind of guy that would carry on the corruption.
He's also the guy that blew up an entire apartment building, killing 200-some people to secure his hold on power. Let's not forget that.
Allegedly, yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Right.
Isn't that
Jim.
an active measures?
Yeah. I mean, shit. Yeah. I mean, Karen DeWeesha, everybody reported on it. All the
Can I
reporters.
point something out? Vladimir Putin is what? A KGB agent. That's his training. First of all, he's a thug. He's a criminal. Literally grew up as a thug and a criminal and a mafia member. And then went into the KGB. What do they do in the KGB? They subvert other democracies. That is the point of them. They infiltrate other democracies. They run psyops. They rat fuck people. They develop sources. They put journalists in place. They did all that stuff in the 70s and 80s, right? Guess who Donald Trump got picked up by? The goddamn KGB, right?
Yeah. Right.
That's who got him. So when you put that guy is president, the guy who runs psyops for a living, who tries
Yeah.
to subvert other democracies for a
Yeah.
living, what's he gonna do? He's
Yeah.
gonna do it
Yeah.
in every place he can.
And he
And
has.
he
Yeah.
did it in Ukraine. And how is he doing it here? He got a 3-star psyops expert from America to do the same thing here for him. He needs people in these different places to basically do what he's been doing for his entire career, and that's who Mike Flynn is.
So
Putin and his KGB background, subverting democracies in Eastern Europe,
yeah.
is no different from Mike Flynn doing it first in Central America and then the Middle East.
The reason I lost my cool, gentlemen, is because I have been making a mission of reading the work of people who were assassinated. So the best people, reporters, investigative reporters with a lot of courage, people like Boris, people who had a lot of courage, and what they have is like. And all the pictures, I've been looking into the eyes of a lot of these people as I look at their faces, and what I see in their eyes is an awareness of the danger of the work that they do, that is overwritten by the compassion they have for humanity. And that is why I lost my cool, because we are dealing with a group of sociopaths who are very greedy. They all hide each other's secrets. Some of them did it for greed. Some of them, as Keir Giles taught us, have some, sexual convictions in their past, deviant behaviors in their past. So they're easy marks for, the KGB handbook targets these types of people. And those are the people that we are up against. And I told you, when I looked in McGonagall's eyes, I saw a guy who looked like he had bottomed out on some kind of ism and is really have brought a lot of hell on our country. And I'm tired of it, because we keep losing the good people. And so this is the 8th anniversary month of the assassination of Boris Nemtsov, and I would like people to not forget how important he is. And he did reports. He did a report that he couldn't even get printed. It was really hard for him to find a printer, showing that Putin and his cronies took $30 billion from the Sochi Olympics. Like, they had thefted $30 billion. And then posthumously, a report after he died in 2015 was published by his allies, also showing, basically showing what was really happening in 2014 in Ukraine. It's not some fucking separatists. It's not some, this was literally, Russian soldiers going in to steal someone else's, country. And that was what his report identified. So I ask people to not let these people have died in vain.
Yeah. I mean, just because I have to always be this guy, how did Putin do that? How did Putin get take Crimea with not a peep from America, because Mike Flynn was running the Defense Intelligence Agency at the time. In February of 2021, sorry, not 2014, Spetsnaz soldiers, little green men, which are FSB soldiers, which are just Russian intelligence, military intelligence, which is what Mike Flynn is, just rolled into Crimea under Mike's nose. Nobody knew a thing about it until they were already hoisting the Russian flag over the fucking buildings, right? So there's a reason, that these things keep coming up all the time. And it's also what Heidi is saying about people dying. How many oligarchs are falling out windows and shit, right? Like, it's funny and we joke about it, but that dude will start doing it here. He's not. He knows it's a fucking red line. But
I'm pretty sure he
they've already
has.
started killing people here.
I'm pretty sure
you have. Of course. I'm just saying that is the sociopath that we're dealing with over here, and the reason why we do this, why Heidi does and Hi-Fi does, and why I've spent 2.5 years of my fucking life doing this, is because it's dead serious.
Yeah.
That guy who will kill people because they oppose him, who will throw them out windows, who will fucking shoot them in the head in front of the Kremlin, that's the guy that, all these asshats are following around like puppy dogs.
Yeah.
So that's why it matters. That's why I'm, hustling on Twitter.
That's why we have to stand up to Putin in Ukraine and send them more freaking tanks.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell's going on here. Why we're pussyfooting around.
I do. We're going to actually be talking about that this weekend.
We don't want
with
to
our
escalate.
guest. No, we're going to be talking about that this weekend with our very special guest. I want to say.
No, Biden wanted to shoot down the Chinese balloon.
I mean, Biden's down. If Biden's down, what's up? Like, come on, Joe, throw it.
Awesome.
Do it, man.
I was like, Dark Brandon's in the house. Fucking shoot that shit down.
I woke up this morning to Zarina Zabriskie, the wonderful correspondent covering the war in Ukraine. She sent me a clip of an interview she did with John Sweeney in Kyiv, where she's interviewing John on a Ferris wheel. So we'll be showing that clip this weekend. She's interviewing John on a Ferris wheel, and it's very funny because, being a cinephile, John's like, this is like The Third Man with like Orson Welles, and someone's going to start talking about cuckoo clocks, and I get the reference because that was the film that introduced the Dutch angle, so I got to make a joke about that. But what he said was actually very serious, and he co-signed on what Boris Nemtsov said about the various ways for Putin and what his future may look like in the various scenarios. But he said that the reason that there's been a lot of pussyfooting about, how much weaponry they're going to give him and why they're sort of like dribbling it out and not going all in is, the escalation. We've got a 2024 election, like all this stuff. And meanwhile, a country is under siege that is trying to basically prevent autocracy from flooding out into the rest of Europe, and and people are dying. So, I don't like these calculations that I'm hearing, and it's not surprising, but it's very disheartening.
Well, and of all the people, good news is Boris Johnson over here.
That's what I was gonna say.
Boris freaking Johnson. What is he doing here? That guy hangs out with Lebedev. What?
Yeah,
I think we know what he. John Sweeney talks about that.
In case you missed it, Boris Johnson called out Tucker Carlson for spreading Putin's talking points into the Republican Party. That, like, Boris fucking Johnson said that. So listen,
What? How? What?
If you can get Bojack or whatever to
Bojo,
call you out for being a goddamn Putinist, then maybe you should look in the mirror and get your nose out of Putin's tailpipe and fucking do something else with your life. I don't know. Just a thought.
go make fish sticks, bro.
So before we
Tucker's deep, man. He is deep. I think he is both ideologically and compromised. Deep,
well,
deep.
You do know that he had a partner in the Daily Stormer whose hedge fund partner was Bernie Madoff's bean counter. Yes, Tucker Carlson. Yeah, Daily Stormer. Daily Caller. I'm getting
different.
I'm getting my right wing. Sorry about that.
That's way different.
It was
That's
Daily.
way different. Daily Caller.
Let's cut it. Let's cut it in post.
It's surprisingly not that different.
Let's cut it in post. Let's cut it in post.
It's not that.
His Daily Stormer.
One is slightly more open Nazi. I'll leave it up to you to figure out which.
Daily Stormer, his partner in the
different
Daily
euphemism.
Stormer. Okay, I'm going to have to tweet it because I'm never going to get this out. His partner in the Daily Stormer, Daily Caller. I don't know, it's a brain fart. His partner in the Daily Caller had a hedge fund partner, and the hedge fund partner was Bernie Madoff's bean counter. And where did that guy's kids live? Russia.
Yeah.
Throw a rock, you're gonna hit another.
Well,
all roads lead to Moscow.
On the Daily Stormer thing, Tucker had his head writer was like on like Iron March or some shit, like on the worst neo-Nazi websites on planet Earth, saying
terrible,
like straight up Nazi shit, like with all the words, no holds barred, and I think he went on vacation for a while until Tucker finally had to come.
Okay, I need a cleanser after all of that. Hold on, here comes Craig.
One of the real problems here, I think, has been these investigations by the FBI have been all criminal investigations when they should have been counterintelligence investigations.
Yes.
That was McGonagall's job. Is it okay for the President of the United States to have made a fortune laundering money for the Russian mafia?
No.
Shouldn't that be a scandal? Or do we just...
You would think. You would think.
Doesn't that compromise you? And it certainly does in terms of national security. And that's what counterintelligence is about. And the FBI failed miserably.
Can we see that again, actually? Can we see it again?
You want
I'm like Teletubbies here.
No, I'm not going to play it twice.
No, play it again, please.
No.
Please.
I'll play something else that you really like.
The pattern, unfortunately, that seems to underlie a lot of the most enthusiastic Russian propagandists is that they have been dealing with severely damaged personalities and personal failure for most of their lives. In fact, the overlap between the number of Russian propagandists who also turn out to be convicted sex offenders is absolutely startling. There are some deep-seated fundamental personality flaws that actually predispose people to being available to be made use of by Russia. And if you look back at the KGB handbooks for recruiting agents of influence, agents of subversion, or indeed propagandists, then you can see very clearly that Russia understood the misfits make the good targets, the people with a grudge, the people who feel they've been treated unfairly by the world because they've been consistent failures, and therefore seek revenge. And you can see that revenge coming through so strongly in some of the verbal attacks that you hear from the trolls, from the so-called independent journalists, the ones pushing the Russian propaganda lines, because the bile and the vitriol and the hatred that they pour out when they're talking about people who criticize Russia, it's extremely personal, and it's plainly tapping deeply into their own personality defects.
It's just, it's an aria for me. It's just.
I'm gonna take the goddamn controls out of your hand if you keep just randomly.
Oh, hi. Thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
I will fucking kill you.
What?
I will kill you.
There will be no bloodshed on RadPod intentionally.
Hey, we're chilling, man.
It's the morning zoo thing, man. Like if we're gonna do
Just
it, we're gonna do it.
Don't say it.
Like horns and what?
I do think that
yeah.
that Craig Unger clip, though, of course, the Keir Giles one is epic, but the Craig Unger clip is very, very important because he says the things that America needs to hear. Craig Unger was also the one in a 2018 interview with Chauncey DeVega and Salon who said, until America has a shared narrative of truth, we will continue to have these problems. And boy, oh boy, that was like 5 years ago now. He also said there was like a really big news day, or there was something huge that broke, like related to a Trump Russia, probably like an indictment or something. And he said that just for shits and giggles, this is back in 2018 in the Salon interview, that he was going to see what Fox was playing. You know, are they going to cover this big breaking news on Trump Russia? No, they had some puff piece about some, giraffe or something that had run amok. So again, dereliction of duty. If you're going to call yourself news and you're not going to cover the issues, that are really pertinent to the, challenges and destruction of democracy, then, unplug. People need to stop watching that crap. Speaking of Fox, though, I do want to say, because as you guys know, I was a Fox 11 producer for a long time. I wrote that piece, Confessions of a Fox Blonde, kind of just to sort of get it out. It's been 10 years since I walked out of the building. I got so many loving messages from former colleagues, which was not anticipated. There was a lot of Me Too's, you go. And I just want to say thank you, because it meant a lot. I was expecting to not hear from anybody. Instead, it was like all love. So that felt good.
Good. It's nice to know that there are nice people who still do nice things and say nice stuff.
Empathy's not dead,
it's
man.
so rare to hear these kinds of stories. Oh, I did a thing and then somebody liked it. Okay. When do you get infiltrated? And
I know.
So
I know.
That's heartwarming. And
I do want to say that I wrote something called Make Empathy Great Again. We talked about this already, but what Jim said really, you having my back on stuff like that, when I get kind of, I don't know, like just distraught over the, continual bashing of things that are good and kind. And then you saying, no, it is important. Like that means a lot to me. Like not being dismissive on things like that means a lot to me. And I'm sure it comes from some of the shared trauma that we've endured. But yeah, there is a war on kindness. And I actually quote you in the article because that's what you said. There is a war on kindness.
Yeah, I mean, that's literally what it is. It's just a bunch of fascists who know that empathy and, any sort of caring about other human beings is inefficient for them, and in their like Borg, like little Elon Musk brains. They're like, oh, we have to brainwash them so that they are getting their little rows and march in fucking fascist steps so we can get to Mars or so we can capture Eurasia or whatever their fucking fantasy world is, right? Like all of it is the same thing. It's to remove empathy, remove the social fabric, remove the protections that we have for one another, including just giving a shit about each other.
I think
And
that is
so
part of how they're trying to
we
make it
cannot
look.
give that up.
I think it's part of the psychological operation to make it look like democracy doesn't work either. And when you were talking, Jim, you reminded me of the great Charlie Chaplin's speech in The Great Dictator, where he broke his silence after an entire career of never speaking on camera because he saw that fascism was on the rise. He knew what that was going to mean. And he lost a lot of friends. And if it wasn't for FDR sending him a telegram saying, go make your film, like he literally was ostracized for standing up to fucking Hitler and Mussolini. And he actually said, in the speech in The Great Dictator, he said, machine men with their machine minds and their machine hearts. And I thought, yeah, that's exactly what
No,
it is.
that's it, right? I mean, the Third Reich was a machine. It was designed as a machine to kill people, right? And you know, I'm sorry, but that's the Hi-Fi. Do you have that tweet from Ruth?
Oh, yeah.
I can find it real fast.
But wait a second. I just want to give you a warning. I just want to give people a warning that this is part of Chaos Agents Theater Craft, you know, Kremlinop 101. So, you know.
Oh yeah, and you know, my response to it was perhaps they should wear something depicting the graphic results of what they're promoting, because this is really unacceptable.
So what Ruth says here is, this is what fascism looks like today: an allegiance to violence over country. This is a declaration of war on the American people. They don't care how many children die. They only care about power. And as you can see on their lapels, rather than the traditional American flag, these are AR-15s, and this is active measures, guys. This is theater craft. Chaos
People,
agents.
it's to stir people to violence is what it is. It's stochastic terrorism.
I had a point with bringing this up, right? This is pretext for genocide, right? Yes, they're chaos agents. They're goofballs. Who gives a fuck about George Santos or whoever this woman is, right? But we got to get that, yeah, they're chaos agents. You shouldn't give them attention, except for the part where they get attention, whether we like it or not. And that attention is normalizing AR-15s after God knows how many people have been murdered with them this year and over the last 30 years, right? Yes, it's active measures 100%. But it's also a threat and a warning.
Yeah.
And it's something, you know, we all collectively have to really understand for what it is.
Yes.
Which is genuinely moving down, and you don't back up from, you know, the stages of fascism easily, and we're moving way down the list.
Yeah, right. Yes.
All the way towards, you know, well into fascism and towards when we get to genocide. So it's why we do this and care so much about it.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Jim. And I always apologize for stepping on you. I'm always so afraid I'm going to lose whatever thoughts in my head that I'm like trying not to. But what I wanted to say is the Daily Mail, in response to those lapel pins, came up with this headline: Democrats triggered as GOP lawmakers wear assault rifle pins. Hey, Daily Mail, here's a double barrel fuck you for you. I'm sorry I'm all sweary tonight, but
Does Chuck Johnson write their headlines?
I don't care about. So Democrats triggered, okay? Not what I'm trying to say is we can't lose our humanity and our empathy. We must be outraged by this type of crap. But that's basically a way to punk, Democrats. And I'd like to make a statement about Santos and then move very quickly on. The most obvious chaos agent to ever chaos around. He went on the Kremlin propaganda station, OAN, and he got the opportunity to play victim. And people need to know that victimhood is one of the major tropes of fascism. It's right there in how fascism works. Unreality propaganda, sexual anxiety, mythic past, law and order. Victimhood is like the number one, because if people who are as obvious a chaos agent as him can twist the narrative around to be the victim and earn sympathy, that is essentially how Trump continues to try to raise money for whatever, shrinking base he may still have, because he gets up there and continues to promote and speak victimese. I bring this up because I would like people to be more savvy when they see this stuff and not just look at the surface layer of it, but peel it back and say, how does this fit into fascism? The next thing I want to say is that words are continually being misused. When a propagandist calls somebody a fascist, they're probably projecting. So I want you to be on the alert of people who are the chaos agents misusing the words that we need to use when we're trying to explain the truth to people.
Can I explain a truth real fast?
Sure.
A truth is that when I realized I was the subject of chaos agents, I behaved like a chaos agent back at them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I should be scared right now.
Well, to this day, they continue. They continue to use the fact that he acted like this. I was acting like a chaos agent, you idiots. Why do they keep it's ridiculous. But it also goes to show just how much of a chaos agent they are, because they're taking one point and harping on it over and over and over. I mean, yeah, it's ridiculous. All of it. All of it.
It
And
is,
it
but
all
it's real
goes back to
war. It's real
Moscow.
war. It's real
It
war.
is, and it's the stupidest war ever. Like this hybrid warfare,
Not.
cognitive warfare bullshit. If people understood what the Chans were, which is like a training ground for fucking mind games, and unfortunately it turned into a neo-Nazi Christian nationalist recruiting ground, and as did 8chan and 8kun. I mean, why do people think so many crazy things came out of the Chans, like Anonymous, right? Why are so many people attached to this nonsense from the Chans? All of them.
Well, I guess we have to write a book about that so
Look,
people understand it.
the Chans were weaponized, just like so many other things are. I mean, when you trace this stuff back, when you trace back Adamov and and so many of the kind of core neo-Nazi stuff, it comes from a website that was created by a dude who went to Russian spy school. The fucking literal Russian spy, like a guy who was trained in psychology at Russian spy school, started Iron March. From Iron March came Adamov and all kinds of almost
Order
all the
of the Nine
neo-Nazi
Angles.
kids.
Okay, so this,
Well, no, ONA is well before.
Was that before that?
Oh yeah,
so,
because it doesn't matter. You take
That was the Progress Church back.
You had the Nazis, and then you had
Right.
the Satanists, and then Iron March brought them together, and they made Atomwaffen, which then made all kinds of other horrible shit.
Yeah.
Point is that you can trace a lot of this stuff back, to intentional radicalization by people connected to the Russian government, and it goes all the way back to my friend Jack Bryan, who we've had on the show, found this beautiful archive of Russian propaganda that all sort of magically starts right when Putin did. And Putin is a psyops guy.
yeah,
That's what he did for a living, right?
yeah,
He did propaganda to subvert democracies, and he started it right away.
yeah,
It's really that simple, and these things have been working their magic, so to speak, their black magic on us for a long time.
yeah.
And then come 2015, what's he get? He gets himself some Michael T. Flynn, and suddenly he can do that shit directly inside our country.
Yes,
And
and it
Bob's
wasn't
your
just
uncle,
Flynn.
you get his own election.
Yeah, and it's so obvious. I wrote something called American ADHD: Why Plots Go Missing, and I gave examples of like all the things that are occurring, so we forget about the McGonagall indictments. We're not going to forget. We're going to keep reporting. We're going to keep on it. We're going to make sure that every new development, we document it. We're going to continue to bring the best guests on to talk about this stuff. We are not going to stop, because as I was reading and writing about the assassination of Boris Nemtsov last night and this morning, I realized that people who do the kind of work that we do, who did that kind of work in Russia, are all gone, right? Okay, so that is the future that we have. We either fight this here and now on our turf, or they win and you don't get truth anymore. You just get a lot of frightened people. And that's just not acceptable for America.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some murdering going on here, but mostly what he does is murders people's reputations. He murders
Brains.
their ability to operate by, smearing and traumatizing them and sending, all sorts of malicious actors at them, and using his American assets, to attack people who
Yeah,
speak the truth. They may
yeah,
not fall out of windows,
yeah.
but I kind of feel like I've fallen out of a window after the last 2.5 fucking years of this. And
One long
it's not a
plummet.
coincidence,
Right.
right? The
Um,
reason why they go after people like me and you and Hi-Fi is because we're onto them. And
yeah.
they would love to
Got
push us
you,
out a
fool.
window if they could, but
If they could.
as far as I can tell, it's still sort of a free country. So fuck you.
Well, in one of the
My
interviews,
windows are fine.
in one of the
Glad.
interviews I was watching, a Deutsche Welle reporter in 2011 asked Boris Nemtsov, again the opposition leader in Russia at the time. He had Putin's number down. The woman said, "Oh, don't you think that Putin's brought stability after the chaos of democracy?" And
Yeah, Hitler made the trains run on time too.
his response was, "This stability is the silence of the grave. If you think death-like silence is what Russia needs, then I am opposed to that." In other words, the promotion of fear. And then he went on to say, just because oil prices are high, thanks to Saddam Hussein and Bush, does not mean that this, stability is anything
Well,
real.
why do you have chaos? Why do you have chaos ops?
To hide
Because,
corruption.
well, yes, but you have chaos so you can bring stability with your fucking
Yeah.
dictator, with your
Oh,
authority.
only I can fix it. That's what Ruth always says. Only I can
It's
fix it.
it's
Yeah.
Buy
it's
our new surveillance system. Buy our new data analysis. Buy our
anarchy,
new.
and not the
Yeah.
good kind, always precedes fascism.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they want it's the Reichstag fire, it's shock doctrine, it's all these fucking things that they do to destabilize and terrify people, so that people like Donald Trump and Mike Flynn and Ron DeSantis and whatever other fucking performance artists they bring in can come in and say, I'm gonna fix it with my MAGA and my fucking racism and we're gonna get all the CRTs out and it's gonna be fucking great. And because look at all this chaos.
Yeah.
Boy, if it
Yeah.
weren't for all this chaos, everything would be fantastic. And guess who's doing the chaos? They are.
Yeah.
And the chaos they're doing isn't even that good. They're just putting it all on media.
It doesn't have
Okay.
doesn't have to be that good.
It's pretty fucking effective.
I was going to
Yeah,
say,
it's incredibly effective, but that's because the vast majority of America is digitally illiterate. And I will say, when I went and saw Keir speak in DC, the one light of hope I had was the people from Finland who were like,
yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and yes,
Hey, you said the magic word, Finland.
Finland. We need to learn from the Finns right quick.
Well, I have a little bit of good news.
Okay,
One
good
of
news is good.
my Finnish Substack friends told me that every time I write about Deripaska, he laughs because Paska in Finnish is shit. So he's like, every time you write it, I just think dairy shit. So I thought that was funny. But I think it's funny that I call him, Oleg Deripaska, a creepy Forrest Gump because he's everywhere. There he is in Kentucky with McConnell, and there he is, with McGonagall, having a FBI guy work for him in New York. And there he is always everywhere that Paul Manafort is. And I guess it'd probably be easier to figure out where he is not. But
Yeah,
clearly he's
if anybody wants to laugh, read his fucking indictment. It's hilarious. It's McGonagall's.
Oh, I didn't find it funny.
The way that he talked about Deripaska in there was fucking straight out of The Sopranos, right? Because they would never say his name, so it was the big guy, the client, the man on top, shit like that. Like it was so dumb and so I felt like these meetings were at the bada bing, right? Like it was just pathetic Russian mafia shit. And this guy is while he was FBI director. Wow.
Yeah. I did not
not FBI
think
director, sorry.
I didn't counterintelligence. He was at SAC. I did not find it funny that
I thought it was funny as shit.
I didn't, because for two things. Echoing in my head was what Craig Unger was saying, where it's like, if William Sessions is going to do it and if Free's going to do it, then I guess when you get your pension after 20 years, you go ahead and get that cash. Well, that is not cool and should not be legal. So as I'm reading the indictments, steam is coming out of my ears over what is legal. But where I lost my shit was when he got the Russian college girl a gig at the NYPD as an intern, and she's running around to the NYPD going, oh, I know someone in the FBI, and I get to see all this counterintelligence stuff. Like how reckless do you have to be? Or who were you trying to impress that you're going to get,
It's not recklessness. he was putting the fucking Red Sparrow or whatever in.
That's what I was getting at. I didn't want to assume it, but it sure sounds
Okay.
like Red Sparrowy to me.
You know what would be a fun project? Tracing all the red sparrows in America and then just writing a book like Men and Their How America Almost Lost to Russia.
Did you see that Hi-Fi? Did not go there, but he still went there. It's hilarious.
That was borderline.
Actually,
He did censor himself.
No, I appreciate that. I'm the one who's not cool tonight.
Yeah, you're the one who's cussing your brains out today. What's going on?
I know.
Yeah.
I apologize.
It's cool.
I apologize. I don't like that.
There's no need to apologize. Don't be sorry. They deserve every expletive we hurl at them. Are you kidding?
Daddy Unleashed!
I don't like how this war has made me very hard, but I want to retain my empathy and my decency and my dignity. And some days are harder than others. And it really got me when I was reporting on Nemtsov. It got to me on the heels of reporting on Anna P., the investigative journalist who was also assassinated.
Call to action for all of our viewers. Call your freaking representatives, call your senators, call your reps, call whoever you can, call your state house, call people, call your local Democratic Party, and ask them what the hell is going on at the FBI and why is Russia everywhere all of a sudden.
That's a great idea, Hi-Fi. I would
Every single person.
Yeah, I would also recommend that you call all your representatives and say, how does it work that insurrectionists are still in Congress? Where is that okay? Where is that okay? Where is it okay to have insurrectionists serving in the halls of Congress? I don't know. That should not be okay.
We've got a problem with our system insofar one side of it uses it against the other side, while this side is playing by the same fucking rules that existed 40 years ago.
The rules are out the window.
We're still trying to do norms and shit, while they're in the goddamn Congress with gun pins on, encouraging people to gear up for civil war. Right?
They're wearing gun pins while the Democrats are protecting their right to not have phones seized. No, sorry, this crossed the line. Perry lost that right. No. Give the DOJ the damn phone.
Well,
it's ridiculous.
That's a judiciary thing, right? But whatever. Like, we
know how that's loaded.
Right. Collectively, I'm trying to support you, man. I'm trying to back you up. You're taking me off track.
Sorry.
Fucking boomer. God damn.
Sorry.
One thing I want to say, gentlemen.
You know, I try.
No.
That's my whole shtick. I'm a little bit of chaos, a little bit of fun.
I'm a little bit
scary.
Don't you
worry about me.
I am a teddy bear.
He also has big brains. He's got big brains too. So we appreciate your braininess. So I do like to end with something positive. We question if we are a rule of law country. This is something we keep coming back to, and I keep saying in 2023 we're going to find out. If there was not still a glimmer of hope that we were a rule of law country, we would not even be talking about the McGonagall indictments. So let's just see if this is going to be the straw that broke the camel's back and we actually start to peel back what happened in 2016 and we get some truth and reconciliation and we, lock up a bunch of billionaires to make Hi-Fi happy.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I mean, yes. Is it good that Charles McGonagall is, getting indicted? Is it bad that it took 7 fucking years? Yeah, that's bad. And in the meantime, arrest Mike Flynn.
That's our show. That's our show.